looks like we're live on Facebook.
Oh, I know what I forget.
The foot to the machine?
Huh?
The foot to the machine?
No, I got that. No, labels. I need labels.
Oh. Hi, everybody. I think we're live on Facebook and YouTube now. We're just getting the room kind of set up here and all the technical things sorted out. Hold on, buddy. Come here.
Okay.
You gonna lay down, Mav? All right, let's see. So we're just, for those of you, we're early. So we always come on a little bit early to make sure all of our camera views are working and all of our feeds are streaming and all that good stuff. So hi, Marianne. So go ahead and say hi. We'll say hi as we get started here. Let's see. Hello from Nevada. Hi, Melanie. Hi, Marianne. Let me see. I got to get my YouTube stuff up here so I can make sure I can see my let's see. Okay, so I can see anyone saying hi there. Hi, Kathy. Hi, Janice.
Hey, Judelle, I do need to ask you something.
Uh-huh.
I noticed this right here in the pattern. Is that a print just because the page got switched down?
Oh, oops. Holy cow. I lost my microphone. Probably. So we just need to switch that up. Yeah.
Yeah, or, and fix that.
Is it the same graphic as this one?
No.
Oh,
there
okay.
should be four of these.
Yeah. Then it's wrong. So we'll fix that. That's a print issue.
That's
so
a print
we can just
issue.
post a correction on that. Hi, Terry. Let's see. I see people on our YouTube channel. Hi, Amy, and another Kathy, and a Mike at My Long Arm. Awesome. Hi, everybody. Hi, Sandy. Nice to see you again. Sandy came to an event that we did in Tucson last year, so I recognize a lot of your guys' names from different programs. So Maverick is here. You want to come up and say hi? Say hi. He's getting so big. For those of you who remember him as a tiny puppy, I think he wants out of the room though, so I'm gonna let him out. Okay, get down. Down. Do you want me to open the door? All right, go ahead. He'll probably be back. He usually comes and knocks on the door at least once during a live video. It's part of our we'll see.
Didn't last very long.
He's back already. We'll see how long he stays. Do you need the other door open? Is that what you're trying to say? Come here. Okay, we're back. I had to put him outside. Let's see, it's 12:59. We're almost ready to get started here. So, yeah, if you have tuned in and this is new to you, when Quiltworks goes live, we usually come on just a little bit early, and then I've started to go in and crop some of that out. I've had some people make comments that they felt like it took a while for the tutorials to get started. So that's why we do it. It's part of making sure that everything is working right. So if we have to start it over or something, we have enough time to do that. But it's 1 p.m. now, so just As a reminder, we are here today to teach you how to make the first part of your Tuscan Sunset quilt. This is one of the projects that we did that we put into our Quiltworx box club. So if you're not familiar with that, you can go check out, we have a group on Facebook called the Quiltworx Box Club. You can join that, or you can go to box.quiltworx.com and learn more about the whole program there. And we're going to go over it again at the beginning of this because there's some things that I want to bring up to you guys since this is the first time that we are meeting. And today's class is going to involve like a 15 to 20 minute tutorial on Quiltster because I know a lot of you are new to that. We're going to talk about coupons and how and where to apply the ones that you have. I'm going to go over where to find a little bit of extra information because I've had some questions from people on their projects, and you guys have access to everything that you need through Quiltster. So I'm going to show you how to find information. Like if you want to go find the project you're working on and print out a Quiltster printout page and break it down into groups, I can show you guys all of that, which you're going to love. And then we're also going to talk just a little bit about the strip sets. We're going to show you a couple strip set quilts, and I'm going to tell you how to get access to or to find Quiltworx strip set compatible projects, and also some fabrics that you guys can use for that. And then Judy's going to do a demonstration on the center block that's part of the Tuscan Sunset pattern. So that's what we're going to cover today. And we're going to start off with Quiltster here. So hi everybody that's tuned in. So also I should mention while I'm getting the screen switched over here, so these are live videos and I will be recording the video so that if we have any technical difficulties or anything, we can go back to the recorded option and pull the relevant content that might have gotten missed. I can kind of see when we have some streaming difficulties. Normally, if we have something, it's just a quick little blip, but every once in a while, we'll have something that lasts a little bit longer than that. We've worked to optimize our streaming situation with our service provider. And for the most case, that does happen. But if we run into some issues, we might just stop for a minute and wait for the video to come back on. And then I'll go out and get you guys a fresh, clean, beautiful piece that will load back onto our YouTube channel. Worst case scenario, something happens like yesterday where Facebook went down or our service goes down or something and we're supposed to be on at a certain time. If that happens, we'll just pre-record it and then post the video out, and I'll try and get the message out to everybody. So live doesn't always go perfect, but it's super fun to do it this way because we can interact with you, we can answer questions along the way. It feels more like we're teaching a class as opposed to just making a video. So just know that it's not perfect, and we do our best to try and keep up with everybody and do a good job of it. So let's see. Quiltster. All right. So I'm on the Quiltster website, and this is what you see when you come to the program. So the first thing about the boxes, every box gives you 3 months of Quiltster. If you have not signed up for it yet, you should go do that because Quiltster is available to you at no cost for 3 months for every single box that you purchased. So you can click on login and then fill out the sign up. And if you go to your Get to Know Us booklet that was in your box on page 4, I believe, let me grab one of those and double check that page real quick. But on page 4, there is a coupon code. I don't know if I have one of those in here. Maybe, oh yeah, I do. Okay. That is at the bottom, or no, it's on page 3. oh no, page 4. So at the bottom of page 4, there's a 3-month free coupon code for Quiltster. That is the code that you put into Quiltster so that you can get your months free. If you've purchased 3, 4, 8 different boxes over the period already, what happens when you put that coupon in is it goes out and it checks your account where you purchased your box club, and it looks to see how many boxes you purchased, and it gives you that information for every single box at that time. If you've already got a Quiltster subscription, you can click on, so like up here, see there's a little picture of me. Some of you probably just have icons. You can load a picture if you want, but you can click there, and then you can go to this enter coupon code space, and you can enter a coupon there. So that's where you can enter the coupon code, and then it'll go out and look. It says, oh, you have 6 boxes, so it takes 6 times 3. So now suddenly you have 18 months of Quiltster at no cost. So that is such an awesome part of the box program, and we want everyone to activate them and use them because there's so much valuable information and fun things you can do with Quiltster. So today, that's what we're going to start with, is a Quiltster demo. So I want, let's see. I'm just double checking here to make sure that everybody's on, because I feel like, can people on Facebook confirm that they're on, that they can see me? Yes, it will. Someone asked, is this going to be available for you for YouTube later? Yes, this is available for you to log in and watch anytime you want. Oh, I see. Yes, I can. Okay, Martha said, how does that work if doing partial payment? It doesn't matter. If you're doing partial payment, it looks and says, here's how many boxes you subscribe to, and it gives you credit for all of them. I mean, obviously, we're trusting you that if you cancel those, then we would have to go back and check that out. But let's see, if you paid for a year of Quiltster in December, does the box program extend for an additional 12 months, or do I get a refund? It extends. So if you have current subscriptions, this adds on to the end of your subscription. And actually, I might have to look at that, Sandy. So there's no refunds, but it may start right now and then just move your subscription to the later date. But either way, the net value is whatever you've paid for now is there, and then it adds on to that. So if you're in the middle of an annual subscription, then you get 6 months plus you get the rest of your 6 months of your subscription, and then these start. So there you go. It moved this. So Nancy said it moved her subscription to a later date. And I don't have a coupon to put in here. And also my account is an administrator account, so it's not set up quite the same as yours. But once you enter that coupon, those details show up in a table below that coupon code. I've seen what it looks like before, so you can go in and check that out. So definitely make sure that you add it on. This part of the box alone is such a great benefit. The Quiltster subscriptions are $99 a year if you subscribe annually, and if you do the the box program, that automatically pays for one of your boxes right there, because the boxes run around $112.50. It depends on what you're making, but anyway, it's just such a great deal. So let's go to talk about the different locations in Quiltster. So there's a gallery. The gallery you don't have to have a subscription for, but you can go see quilts that other people have designed in the gallery and shared out for everyone to see. You can also share your quilts if you want, and they can go into the gallery. There's a marketplace. So we're going to talk about Lou Joy. She says her live has not started. So I'm not sure why your live would not have started because, interesting. Well, try refreshing and see if that helps. Maybe I can also I'm gonna grab Elise and get her on here to see if she can give me a little bit of backup too to help with some of those questions. Hold on guys, just 1 second. Okay, all right, okay, it looks like Lou is working now. Okay, great. So I'm gonna go, so let's go back to Quiltster. So in the marketplace, you also don't have to have a subscription to Quiltster for the marketplace, but why the marketplace is important for all of you is that Quilt Works and a couple other of the vendors in the Get to Know Us booklet included coupons for the Quiltster marketplace. So how do you use those? So first, if you go to page 3, the 2 coupons are there, and you're gonna want the coupon that is on the bottom for the Quiltster marketplace. It says Quiltster marketplace on it. So you're gonna go there and click on Quilt Kits. And then on the Quilt Kit page, you wanna go to Quilt Shops and sort by Quilt Works. Or if it's one of the other people in the catalog that offers on the Quiltster marketplace, sort by their name as well. So then you see quilt patterns and kits, or these are kits. You can purchase them with the pattern or without the pattern, and they are available for you to just click on and purchase. And you can put the coupon that's in your catalog for 1 kit, and we'll have a new coupon for the 2nd quarter as well. But you can come in, choose what you want, you click add to cart, and then you put that, this one says Quiltworx 25 all in capitals. You can put that in there and you can use the coupon for purchasing a kit through Quiltster, and you get 1 per quarter. However, if you have more than 1 box, you also get 1 for each of the boxes. So if you buy a small box and you buy a big box, then you can apply the coupon and that's in both of those boxes. I know some people on the small boxes even bought 2 or 3 colorways, so they would get a coupon for each box. So it's super awesome the way that this works. So yeah, so don't forget to use that coupon, because as you can see, that's gonna even make these boxes more of a great value for all of you. And we have some really amazing kits that are available. If you're new to this program and you're watching it and you don't have a box subscription and you would like to get a box subscription, one of the things you can do is buy, because we're basically out of kits for the large colorway. We have like 5 of the CAFE colorway left, but you can come to our page, you can buy a pattern only box and get everything in the box, and then once you get your first shipment, you can come out and you can purchase one of the quilts. Like we have 3 options listed here, and I'll probably have more colorways throughout the year. But you can purchase one of those and use your coupon on it, and you will get a really great price on everything that's almost identical to what you would have paid if you would have gotten it all in the box. So this is an awesome opportunity for everyone. And I hope that everyone uses these coupons because they are a great deal. So there's another coupon in there. We'll talk about that at the end of the Quiltster demo real quick when we talk about the Quiltworx website. But for now, just know that one of those coupons is a Quiltster Marketplace coupon. Make sure you use the right one. So we're going to go to the Quilt Planner. And the Quilt Planner is where you can see all of the projects that you have worked on for yourself. I get to see projects that other people have worked on as well, simply because I have an admin account. So you're going to see things on mine that you won't see on yours, but so you guys don't get to see all that, but anyway, you still get to understand how it's going to work when I show you here. So my projects, you can click create new project, and that takes you to our entire pattern line. So the first thing I want to show you is relevant to your Tuscan Sunset projects. We have two layouts. One is a queen, one is a king. Depending on which size you chose, depends on which one you would want to open. But if you click on Tuscan Sunset, then go down to customize, there's a blank one. So people who purchase just the pattern only could color this and create it in their own colorway. Or if you want to open up a Quiltster image of the quilt that you purchased, you can do that. And why would you want to do that? I'll show you because it's really awesome and you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I want to do this. So we're going to call this, this was the Heather and Sage version. So I'm going to create the project. And when this opens, it opens the project that you're making. So some of you might have thought, I'm not sure, like I have this colorway, I'm not sure what the whole quilt looks like, or, you know, I want to see more details about the cutting instructions, etc. So this is where you can go to do that. You can save this into your account, and now you have it as a project that you can definitely get more information about on. You can click on over here on the left hand side, you can click on yardage, and that tells you all of the colors that we used in it. And then it shows you yardage. If you click on by block, it shows you all of the extra cutting details you need for each of those and the labels that you need for each of them. And then you can click on by group, and it breaks it down by the different areas of your quilt. So this is especially helpful as you're going along and making your quilt. You can print this out and you have all of the details that helped us label your kits, that helped us come up with cutting information for your kits, and they're all specific to your colorway. Your patterns also have some tables in the introduction booklet that have that information in it as well for the colorways that were in the box. But if you want some printouts that you can take along with your pattern, this is a great place to do it. So I'm going to show you what Judy often does. So she takes her quilt and then she'll come here and she presses duplicate. And we're going to call this Feathered Star Center. Oops. And then you can duplicate it for the next group, which is the Grandma's Garden, and then you can duplicate it for the following group, which is called the Picket Fence Border, and you can duplicate the other details for the final border, and that'll give you the Queen border options. But now that this is its own project, I can click on that and I can clear this out. I can clear this one out. I can clear this one out. And now that those are cleared, I can hit this slider button and that makes everything else disappear. I can press save. And now I have a document for my quilt that is only for that part of the project that I'm working on. And this is really great because now all of the yardage information that's in here is only for the first quarter of the project. You can then, if you click on print, you can go to the print page. And that opens up this awesome document. It just shows the center. It can be clicked on in 3 different views here. And if you want to print it, you got to print it in each of those views. But then you can click the print button and you can just print this out either as an Adobe PDF, so you can have it on your phone or on your computer or your tablet, or you can choose a printer and you can print to whatever printer you have and actually physically print it out and put it with your quilt project. So I'm not going to do all of the different pieces of the quilt, but you kind of get the idea of how that process works. So just make sure that you do the duplicate button. So you're going to start here, press duplicate, and create your center, and then you would do duplicate again and create the grandma's garden border.
Oop, let's pick a fence, I think.
Picket fence is the third one.
Oh, okay.
So, and then you can just, I'm just going to show you real quick how you could clear that one too. And then you can see all of those broken down sections of the quilts that you're working on. So that part is specific to the project that we're working on. And now I'm going to do a quick demo showing you how to do a different project. So we clear those out. We click this button. We're going to go over and press save. And then we have the B group. Okay, we're going to go back to projects now. We're going to click create new project. And we're going to work today on the Hocus Pocus because it's a really quick design to color. But we're going to, let's say you've bought the Hocus Pocus pattern and you want to see what it looks like in fabrics. This is just one of the most fun things. You can play with Quiltster for hours, just coloring, creating something that is new to you, interesting, and fun to work with. So when you click on this one, it only has 2 groups. Sometimes there's a lot more. This one only has 2 because it has to have the fabrics matched up in a specific way in order to keep the yardage on your project working properly. So then you can go into filters, and it has all of these options for how to choose fabrics. You can also click products I can buy. So we're going to do that today just to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. And it narrows it down to fabric collections that are in Quiltster and available through, right now it's Yoder Department Store. And it's going to continue to be Yoder Department Store, but we will have others added over the next we're working on some things to get it done. And I know we've been saying that for a little while, but so that more vendors can be listing products and fabrics in the system. So you start with a color here and you find your space in the quilt. You click on that space in the quilt and you just go find the fabric you want to add to it and you add that fabric in. And it's really that easy to play around in Quiltster and plan and design projects. Over the years, this has taught me so much about how to use color. It also is amazing because I'll show you as soon as we get this all colored up, like what you get from the information. And I want something dark to go in here. I'm not using anything that's you know, these collections might not match perfectly, but I can go sort these out. So if I'm under products I can buy, I can also click on fabric companies and I can sort it down to a specific collection. So if I wanted to go to Timeless Treasures, I wanted to choose Judy and Judelle Niemeyer because they're pretty awesome designers. Haha. And then I choose collections. I can go in and see different collections that they might have at, this is stuff that's at Yoder Department Store. So once I get this all colored, I'm going to color the border real quick here. We're going to go back to all collections. Oops, we need to go back to all collections here. So and all companies. That way I can get back to something that matches. So I'm going to switch this off, switch back. You can also load your own fabrics. So while the fabrics are getting back to the original ones, how do you add your own fabrics? It's really simple. You just click on this little plus button and then it takes you to it takes you to the, if I click on that, it takes you to a screen where you can choose an image, put in a SKU, put in a swatch size, and you can upload an image of the fabric. So you have to know a little bit about those. There's some demos that you can do on the, or that you can watch on the Quiltworks or Quiltster YouTube channel, and those will help you learn a little bit more about that process. So I strongly encourage you to go watch that. I'm gonna switch this one. Okay, so let's say this is the quilt that I want to make. So now I can come over here to details. I always want to check my details to make sure that I've colored 100% of it before I do anything else. And then I can go to yardage and I can see all of the fabrics that I added to it. I can also add backing and binding from here. So we're going to add some binding. And then I can see if anything is low in stock or out of stock, but it looks like everything, even if it's low, is in stock for this. So that's good. And now I'm going to save it, just because I always do that once I finish a project. And I can go over here and click add to cart. Now, obviously you don't have to purchase these as you color them. It's just something that you can do, and I'm showing you through the demo how that process works. So you click add to cart, and that generates a shopping cart. In this case, oh, we got another project in there from a different demo, so we're gonna delete that. There might be a couple things in here. I don't actually know. Okay, so it shows me the project. It shows me all the fabrics. It shows me the pricing, how many yards I'm buying of each of them. I can change that if I want to increase it on something so that I have a little bit of extra. I can increase the yardage at that point in time. And then it will show me the pattern if the pattern is available, but I don't have the pattern. We don't have the pattern available in Quiltster quite yet on this one, but then it would show the pieces there that you would purchase. It gives you a total, and then you can proceed to checkout. So Quiltster is a great resource for planning your project. It also, like I showed you over on the left-hand side, will give you all of your yardage. You don't have to purchase it because you might already have those fabrics, or you just want to print it, take it down to your quilt shop and purchase what you can to make the project. It's really, really great the way that you can get all of the details that you need for Quiltster right in the project app to make your pattern. So we're going to click on, we're going to go back to create new project. I'm going to show you a couple more quick things here. Let's see, what would be a good one? Let's open up the Most Curious Garden. So we're going to open up a project that's already colored just because it'll make it easy to show you how this works. So I'm going to show you a couple more tools that are really fun to play with in Quiltster. Oh, it looks like we're getting a little bit of issues with the stream on it. Oh, maybe it's coming back here. Yeah, I think it's getting fixed. Frame rate's coming back. All right. So Elise says hers is good. So let's continue on, and then if I hear anything, we'll deal with it then. So on this, I can click on the center of this quilt, and there's some tools I can use. So one of them is unlock. So right now it has all 4 of those selected. You can see by the dashed lines that go through it. I can hit up here this little unlock key, and now I can just select 1 or 2 or just the number of blocks that I want. And that's how, if you notice in this, it has different background colors. I had to use the unlock button in order to color those different background colors. The other thing you can do, you can kind of see in the center there's some dark solid lines. If you want to get rid of those, you can hit this grid button, and that gets rid of those lines. You can change the background color here so that the quilt might be easier on your eyes to see. And then I'm going to show you a tool here. So I'm going to click on one group, and I have all 4 of those selected. So I can hit down here at the bottom, it says rotate. I can hit the rotate button, and that rotates the blocks. So now I could make a totally different looking quilt just by rotating the blocks. I can also, if I want all of them to be identical and I was playing around with color, I don't necessarily have to go back into the block editor. I can click on the one I want, then I can come down here and I can hit sync. And now it's going to switch all of the backgrounds in the center to the one that was that I wanted to switch it to. So you just have to make sure you choose the right block, and then you can hit sync, and it saves you some time going back and forth. Another fun little hint you can do is if you go to the print page, you can choose, well, I love doing this. You can choose, oh, not print page. Sorry, gotta go back. I pressed on the wrong thing. You wanna go to the yardage page. So if I have lots of blocks and I wanna change the fabric in all the blocks to a different one, I can just come here, and let's say I wanted to change this piece to the little smaller moth piece in this design. So I would go pick the other one and I would switch that. And now, even though they're all kind of the same, but you can see it went and found everywhere I used that fabric, and it changed it across the entire quilt. So you can change fabrics completely, which is really helpful if you're missing something that you didn't know was there. So that's not everything you can do with Quiltster, but go check out the Quiltster YouTube channel for lots more tutorials. We also go through different things on a number of our Quilt Works videos at different times. You can learn a little bit about autosave. You can learn about how to upload your own fabrics in more detail. You can learn how to use some of the extra tools in Quiltster, how to search and sort fabrics. We cover all of that, but I just wanted to give you guys an overview of how the actual program works today before, so that you could be encouraged to go use it both for this project and also for future projects. So the last thing I want to show you is the website. So the reason I'm going to show you this, products, patterns. So this is the Quilt Works website. So I want to make sure that everybody understands we have, right now we're going through some website updates, and we do have 3 different websites, or you could purchase kits through the Quiltster marketplace like I showed you. Then we have our main website, Quilt Works, which is where you could purchase patterns from us. And then we have the Quilt Works Box Club. So if you go here and click on box subscriptions, it takes you to box.quiltworx.com. This is where you all need to log in if you want to log into your accounts and get a reminder of what you've purchased and how you're paying and where you're shipping things to. If you need to change payment information and shipping information, please email us and we'll help you with that. You can also purchase a few non-subscription products through this page, which is things like backing, And if you wanted to expand your quilt to a king size, you could do that here. And then of course there's the fabric/pattern boxes and then the pattern only boxes. So this is where you purchase more box product. If you're wanting to use the coupon that's in your Get to Know Us book, page 3, this time the top coupon for Quiltworks, you can also buy one pattern from Quiltworks each month or each quarter on our website. And that is where you use the coupon that's on the top of that page. Come in here to products and patterns, and then you can sort through all of this. If you wanted to buy that Hocus Pocus pattern, you could buy it here. Click on Buy Now and then process it, and then you would put the coupon in at the checkout stage on the Quiltworks website. So there's 2 coupons for you to use each quarter. There's a subscription to Quiltster, and there's also strip sets. So we're going to spend just a couple minutes talking about strip sets because a lot of you are probably thinking, well, now what do I do with the strip sets that we got? So I'm going to switch the video here. We're going to switch to this one. Say hi, Mom. Is your microphone on?
I think it is.
Okay.
That's why I haven't been talking to myself.
Yeah, okay. So we're going to talk about the strips. So a bunch of you got strips. Some of you didn't, but you'll get them in your second box. You get the strips if you ordered all 4 of the quarters, and if you ordered and also you get strips if you ordered one of the King expansion projects with your kit. So the strips we have over 25 patterns at Quiltworks that use the strips. And we're going to just show you a couple here so you get an idea of some of the projects that you can use. If you go on to Quiltster and you sort pattern type in the list on Quiltster, when you're under create new project, you can actually sort out all of these projects and you can go play with them with the strip set that's in there. And maybe I'll show you that at the next workshop. But this is one that we just finished, and it's called the Fractured Star. And the strips are used to sew into all of these diamonds, and then this piece, this striped border right here. So that's one, and obviously the video isn't big enough for you to see quite the whole quilt, but you guys get the idea. It also works for our Bali Wedding Star series, and all of our wedding ring kits, they can use the strips, and they use the strips to do these rings. So and the awesome part about that strip set is it's already pre-sorted into the color groups that you need to do this. And so you can literally open that package up and start. So don't mess up the color arrangement.
Yeah, they're already sorted.
Sometimes people take and dump the whole thing out and then they leave it and then they have to resort them after that. So this is another project that uses a strip set. This one is called the Tattered Star. This is always going to test if we move back a little bit, you can see a little bit more of the quilt, but it uses the dark strips along the diamonds in the top and the light strips in the center. I got a couple more wedding rings here. We don't need to show those. And then this one is just another one. We're very short on quilts right now because we've sent them all out. They're in a lot of quilt shops. So I don't have everything, but this is just some examples. So this one's called Spice Rack. And this is a different strip set entirely, but same idea. So you can look up the Spice Rack pattern and you can see see some options for how to use your strip sets. So with that, I think we've covered all of the details I wanted to get you guys started on. And we're probably ready to start the demo, Mom.
Okay.
I'm going to turn my microphone off.
Are we ready?
Yep.
All right. So I'm Judy, for those of you that don't know me, and today what we're going to do is we're going to show you guys how to make that center star, and I'm going to also go over some basics for future patterns, the rest of the groups, so that you kind of know where we're going. All right, but this is the center to this piece. This is what I printed out. You guys in your box should have gotten the pattern, and then you also should have gotten the Quiltster, all of the labels that come with it, that have all of your papers or labels that you put onto your fabric numbers. Okay, so we're gonna get going on that in just a second. The first thing I want to actually go through with you guys, and so I pulled the papers from one of the other patterns, or one of the other groups that we're going to do. This is from the C group, but I want to show you guys how to cut out your papers to speed things up, and give you some tips and tricks about saving a lot of time. So I'm going to turn my light table on here. And this one's kind of a big light table. I don't have my small one. But if you actually put your papers, and I think it's, yeah, this end here. I have this end already glued together and pinned, but I wanted you guys to see that if we work with this end, I haven't glued it. I can actually stack these, and so what I like to do is take a little bit of my repositionable glue, and I'll put it on the back of my paper, and then I'll just stick that to my light table, and then the very first piece won't move on me. Okay, and I can see on your light table you can usually get 4 sheets that you can stack. If you have more than 4 sheets, you're going to have to do it in groups of 4. So then we take the next one, and I like to use, you can use repositionable glue, but you can also use the Yoo-hoo, and I'm going to work with the Yoo-hoo just because repositionable is really a shortage issue right now. So what I want to do is I want to glue the next sheet right onto this one. You don't want to put any glue on your foundation papers that you're going to be sewing on. So what you do is you just come in here into the parts that you know where you're going to be cutting it out, and just put a little bit of glue in those places. And then we can take the next sheet and we lay it and we match up the lines perfectly because they're all printed exactly the same. And then we're going to do that for the next part. And this table that I have is actually big enough to do both of them, do the whole sheet. My smaller light table, I can only do a half of the sheet, but I can move half of it and then come back and do the other half. So it works really well. The other thing you can do is if you don't have a light table, you can actually tape your first sheet onto a window and then use your window to line everything up as well. So this is my third sheet, and now you're going to notice once you get to the fourth one that it's a little bit harder to see where to match things up, but so far we've been able to see them, and I can still see just slightly where I need to match it, but it's pretty big. So if you can't see through 4 sheets, then just do 3 or do them in stacks of 2, okay? Now the other thing you can do is, let's say I had 8 pages that I had to cut out. I can actually, after I get all of them set up in groups of 4, I can cut through 12 layers of paper with no problem with the rotary cutter. So I can actually take and put a pin right here, and then I can grab the next group and I can pin it in place and the next group, so I can actually get 12 layers actually stacked. All right, So it's a really fast way to do it. Now I'm gonna move the light table. Now
you have a question, Mom. Someone said, what is the size of that light box and where did you get it?
This one is, I know that it's bigger than, I think it's about 34 inches. It's actually it's not really for quilting, but it works great. It's, we bought it so that we could see newsprint when we were building and designing with newsprint years ago. We had to have something big that you could actually see where to put everything. Now we do it all digital, and so we don't have to use it for the design process that we used to. So we just use it for light tables to do this.
We have tons of people asking questions, so while we're taking a break, we'll answer that quickly. But the quilt on the wall, they want to know more about that.
Okay. Well, you can tell them why I moved this.
Okay. So the quilt on the wall is the polar compass, and I put it on the wall today because it's one of our brand new publications that's coming in a couple weeks, and we didn't have anything else with this feathered star block here because I sent all the quilts away. So anyway, the polar compass will be published in just a couple, probably about 3 weeks, maybe right after we get back from Texas. And the fabric collection that it's done in is the Traditions fabric collection. So all of those fabrics are currently available, and there will be kits on the Quiltster marketplace. And remember, you have a 25% off coupon for anything you want to buy there. So if that's something that you're interested in, definitely think about using it for that, or you can go find the pattern once it's posted and use that as well. So anyway, let's okay, I think that answers the question for everybody on the quilt on the wall, and we can go back to Judy now. Okay, go ahead, Mom.
All right, so now I want to go through the actual cutting of the paper. I've got them all glued together. Now realize that they're not like totally perfect, but they're so close that what I like to do is I cut everything off and I set it up about 1/8 of an inch. So I have a ruler that has a little 1/8 inch mark, and I'll actually go through and cut these papers out. I like to do my small lines first. And so I'm actually going to lay this one, and I add 1/8 of an inch. Now this is just to my foundation papers. I don't add 1/8 of an inch to the template pieces. And this is a template, this is a template. We cut those right on the line. We just cut right outside the foundation paper. I know there's a lot of you that like to leave a lot more, but one of the things you'll run into with our patterns is when we're working with angles and you have too much paper, excess paper around your lines, and you start folding things back, sometimes your pieces don't cover. So the closer you get to that cut line on your paper, the easier it's going to be for you to be able to match up those fabric pieces, right? So I'm going to take this one, and I'm not going to cut along that outside edge yet because I want to keep because I have glue here, glue here. So I'm just going to do my inner lines for now, and we're going to do some, and I'm going to move this over here. Okay, and then I'm going to slide the whole thing this way. By keeping the outside paper attached to it, it allows me to keep the whole thing together. All right. So now I'm going to, before I go any further with it, I'm going to come over here to my template. And on the template, I'm going to cut it right on the line. Even if it's not accurately placed underneath there, if it's off just a hair, because it's only going to be off like the width of the line or something, I'm still going to cut right on the line. And you don't want any excess on your templates because when we set up our templates and design the strip sets, the strips that you put them on, we basically design the template, and then if the template is 1 3/4 inches, then we're going to go up to a 2-inch strip. If it's 1 7/8 inches, we're going to go up to a 2-inch strip. So we jump every 1/4 of an inch when we're working with our strips that we're cutting. If you leave 1/8 of an inch and 1/2 of an inch on the outside of your template pieces, when you go to fit them onto your strips, then your templates are too big. And so you have to go back and you have to start cutting your templates down. My opinion is cut it one time the first when you set it out, and then you never have to go in there and do any retrimming. And it saves a lot of time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and cut my diagonal line along the edge of this template. And then I'm going to cut this line. And even if it cuts off a little bit of the line underneath, it's just fine, because the templates are set up larger than what you need to cover. It's just everything you do in paper piecing, you need a little bit of playroom. So now this is a template piece. And I have another template over here that I want to cut before we go any further. So we're just going to put those papers back down. And if it moves just a little bit, it's fine on your templates. It won't make that big of a difference. And if you guys ever find that when you're working with your templates and your fabric isn't as wide as you need, or you have to skinny something up because you made a mistake, you can actually trim a little bit of excess off around your template pieces to squeeze your templates together closer if you feel like you're going to be short on yardage. Because we work with 42 inches. We don't always, some of the fabric companies are a little bit less than that. So on occasion you have to skinny up some templates. Okay, so now I'm actually going to take this and I'm going to cut along this outside edge down here. Okay, and then we're just going to finish off this line now. So there's my unit C1, and then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to trim these off. I think you might have a dog trying to get in. So there's my unit C2. Here's my unit C3. So remember, 1/8 of an inch outside your foundation units, and your templates are right on the line. Oops, got a little tail there. Oh, that came loose. All right. This saves you a lot of time, and it gets all your templates set up and your foundation paper set up to the right size. Now I'm just going to take each one of these and we're going to find some paper clips, and since they're all a different one, I'm just going to put a paper clip on each group and put them back in. Now I get a lot of people ask me, why don't I iron my templates? The biggest reason why is because it doesn't make a lot of difference. The creases kind of help the papers stack together without moving as much. And then when you're all done cutting them out, you have to fold them up and put them back in your bag again anyway. So you go to a lot of effort to press them, and then you're going to fold them up and put them back into your bags. Okay. So we're going to take these templates. These are all the same ones. So we're going to...
And just a reminder, she cut this is actually papers for the third group that you'll
Yes.
get. But she did that because she needed to cut the papers out for the first group in order to prep for her demo today. So that's why she is doing that one.
I'm not going to do any more cutting today on this because we're not going to use this today. We're just going to set it aside. Let me put it over in the bag. Okay, so now we're going to actually start with the first of your pattern. And I went through before so that we could get ready, and I have everything cut out. And then we have all of our fabric listed here, and everything's in order. So in your bags, you probably, if you pull them out of your bags, then you don't just move them all around and stuff. Each one of these, and you should have had all of these labels. So see this little label that I have? You guys got those in your bags as well. Those were printed from Quiltster. And I just put the label right onto the fabric. If you have fabric,
their labels look a little different than yours because there's
you guys have a sticky label, an address label that has that, Anyway, so we just go through there, and if you have the Quiltster, this told me I needed to cut two 27-inch strips, and I believe yours, did you guys cut these down to that, or did they get yardage?
So some of you already have your pieces cut, and some, if you ordered the pre-ordered kit, then we cut all the yardage. If you don't have it cut, if you didn't order pre-order, then you got a full amount, and then you might have, if it says two, like one of them, what does that one say?
Two 27-inch strips.
Okay, so you, for the pre-cuts, you got two 27-inch strips. For the just regular yardage, you got the...
You would have had twice that.
Yes. Yeah. And so it depends on how you order, but pre-cut, make sure that you have all of the strips in there, and then they're all individually labeled and put together in your project.
Okay, and if you just got fabric, then you can get all of these labels you can get from Quiltster. All right?
No, they're labeled even with the fabric. They just have multiple labels on one piece of fabric that
They're
tells
already
you.
Set. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't. You can tell I didn't cut down all your kits. So. All right. So anyway, I have them all in order. So I have BF1, and then I have my BF2 strips, BF3, BF4, and then I have. Whoops, that one's on the bottom. That's a BF5. And then there's a whole bunch that say S on it, and it says S1 through S8. So you're going to set that group aside because those are for the strip piecing, and these are actually going to be used for cutting out all of the other, the first part that we do in the pattern. If you look right at the very beginning of your pattern, it tells you to set up 3 bags, and I have 3 bags here. You guys can just call them bag 1, bag 2, bag 3, because you're only going to be working with this unit right now, so you don't have a lot of other groups all cut out as well. But the reason we put the group number on it is so that you can keep bag 1 from group 1, bag 2 from group 2, because a lot of people like to cut things out, the whole quilt down at one time. But you guys don't get to do this because you're only going to get one portion of the quilt each quarter, right? So I went through and I have my 3 bags set up, and then as it goes, I work on down my instructions, and if I read it, it's telling me what foundation papers go into each one of these bags. So we're going to sort that right now. So what we're doing is this set of instructions has it built so that the right units, and you should have 3 units, BF1, BF2, and BF3, and they all go into your bag 1, okay? And so we're going to put them into bag 1 for now. That's the right unit. And then the left units, It's the same identical units, just a mirror image. Those go into your bag too. And along with this, it also tells you, plus you're also supposed to add the template pieces. But I always put the templates aside, and I don't add the templates to the bag until after I cut the fabric. So I have my template pieces set right here. And then bag 3 is for my S group. So I'm going to go ahead and put the papers for bag 3 in here, like that. All right, so we have our 3 bags. Oh, these were for the papers over here. I'm like, I have an extra bag, but that's why. All right, so now the next thing you're going to do is, if you guys look at your papers, if you're missing a sheet, you need to check this out right now when you start, before you cut everything up, because it's going to tell you that you need 2 of the NP733, 1 NP740, and 1 NP741. And if there's a mistake anywhere in any of these packaging, that's going to tell you right now that you're missing something, okay? If you cut everything out and then you start missing something, then there's no way to go back there. All we can do is say, well, if you have your BF1L pieces and you're missing your BFR, the right pieces, we know you got the sheet because they're printed on the same page. So we can kind of tell whether or not you lost something just by looking at those newsprint. Because if you have some of the stuff on the newsprint, then the rest of it, if you're missing stuff, it's because you've misplaced it. If you can't find it, you get a hold of us and we'll help you out, okay? Then you have your fabric chart. Notice that I put my fabric labels on here. This really helps, because if you have to put a project aside and you come back, you still know what the number of those fabrics are. Because once you start cutting them up and start sewing them together, you don't remember what fabric names go to, what the names, and when you get to the end of the instructions, you may need that information. So go ahead and set your fabric swatches up onto your pieces, your chart right here. And then the other thing that's really important is on page 1 is you have, and it's not always on page 1, but on this one you have the color layout. And what it's telling you is, if you look at the diagram underneath there, it tells you what all of the colors are on all the units, and it's this color layout matches the foundation paper. You flip it over, it's just the opposite. So this color layout, it matches your paper. And I want to show you what I did. I believe I'm working with the left side units. Nope, we're working with the right side units first. Okay, so what I did is, this is my right. When I was setting up my fabric chart right here, I went back, I grabbed my papers out of my bag, and I put a little fabric swatch on these. And the reason I did that is because each one of these sheets are just a little bit different. So like this has the blue, this one's done with the rust fabric, and this one's done with the rust. And so now I know that. And then it also has my backgrounds. And sometimes you end up with papers in the same bag that use different color backgrounds as well. So I really like to just add those little swatches right onto my foundation papers, so that if I put it away and I come back in 3 months, I remember which colors go where as I'm pulling those pieces out of my bag. So that chart is really helpful for you to use, okay? So now the next thing I like to do is I like to go through and highlight all of the titles up here at the top of my, so I have a title here, this is fabric 1, this is fabric number 2, this is fabric number 3, 4, and 5. And I highlight that because it tells me what templates go with it. When we cut all of our templates out, you want to just line your templates up, and there's a number on your templates, and I'm just going to take a highlighter here and mark it. You guys aren't going to be able to see it very well, but it says template layout sheet number 1. So then if I pick up the next one underneath it, I've already put these in the numerical order. This is template layout sheet number 2. So I like to take a highlighter and I like to just highlight what that number is. That's number 3. This is number 4. And the reason I like to highlight, because you have template layout sheets and then you have template pieces, and you have to kind of keep the different ones separate. And then sometimes you have T-templates, which are your traditional size template, which means you have to cut it to the exact size of the paper, where these templates are used for foundation paper piecing, so they have excess fabric on them. So this one is my number 5. And this is my template layout sheet number 6. So I have those all in order. And then I get down here, and this is just a template piece. It's not a layout sheet because it's a single template. And that's what the difference between a template layout sheet and a template is. This is only one, this is only one, and this one's only one. So I usually keep those templates in a separate pile. Get all of your layout sheets up in order, and then we're going to pair those up to the fabrics before we do any cutting. So if I read right here, it says fabric F1. So we're going to take this off. I lost my paper clip there, and I wanted the paper clip. It says that I need to put template layout sheet number 1 and number 2 with that fabric. So I'm just going to clip it on there right now. And you can use, we also have some of these bigger clips, so this will work better. And then I'm going to set that over here. Then we're going to find fabric 2, and that says template layout sheet number 3. And template layout sheet number 4. And these are going in alphabetical order, but they don't always go in order. Sometimes you have to have like template layout sheet number 8 and template layout sheet number 10 on the same fabric. So we're going to put this one right here. These two go with this fabric. And then we're going to go to fabric number 3. It says 5 and 6. Go with this one. And then I get down here. This is my fabric B4, and that one wants me to use the single template that's in its BF2R, which means that BF stands for the unit or the group, 2 is the second template, and the L means that it's the left piece. And this one wants me to have the right piece. So I need to put the right with fabric number 4. And then we're going to put the left piece, it looks like, with fabric number 5. So right now I just figured out that I have all of my templates and I have all my fabric numbers for that, okay? And I have one template left over, and so I've got to figure out, well, why do I have that template left over? Well, it's because this one, if you turn back here, here's all of the fabric chart, which is a separate fabric chart for these other fabrics here, and that's for the strip piecing. And that is our strip piecing template. So this is actually going to go in, and I'm going to put it into this bag with the strip piecing foundation papers. Okay, all right. So now I'm ready to go back. I know I have everything, and I'm ready to go back and start cutting everything. So let's start with fabric number 1, And this is your lesson on how we work with template layout sheets. So we're going to take the first piece of fabric here. And the one thing I want to bring up is this says that I needed two 27-inch pieces, but when I start reading my instructions, it's telling me I need 13.5-inch. Well, the reason why is Quiltster, when you start working with big background areas, we have to keep those templates and all those templates together as a group. And so what we tell you is you'll get a big piece of fabric like this, and then it's going to tell you to do some subcutting. And so I have to subcut two 13.5-inch strips from each one of these. So we're just going to take this, open it up, and it is 27 inches, so basically that's going to come out perfect. And we're going to grab my bigger ruler here. And I'm going to line it up, and it says 13.5, so we're going to go to 13.5 here. Okay. So then if I continue to read my instructions, what it's telling me is one of these templates has to go with two of these. So we're going to start with BF1R, which is this one. Okay, and that's going to go with this sheet here. And then the other one is used for the left. So for now, I'm going to take this template and clip it on here. And I'm going to put it in that other bag because I'm not going to make you guys watch me cut all of these out. Actually, I want to do the left because of the way the instructions of paper piecing are set up. So we're actually going to put this one away. And this is going to go into B1 for now. Okay. So let's go down to the bottom underneath. I'm going to be at step 5. And it's going to tell me how to cut these. And this is why you love template layout sheets. Because in traditional piecing, every one of these would have to be a different fabric or a different template piece that you'd have to keep track of. With a layout sheet, it's all one. And all we have to do is cut on the lines. So we're going to take this. Something I do want to mention while I'm straightening this out is when you're cutting all your little fabric swatches and you're buying a kit, always make sure you cut those swatches down the selvage grain, because that's where you're going to have your excess fabric. Don't cut it off the top and the bottom because of the fabric, because you'll probably end up short fabric if you do that for your strips. So our dog's coming to visit. So now I'm going to take my repositionable glue and I'm going to put it on the back, and I don't need a lot of it, just a little bit there. And then I'm going to look at my picture, and the picture shows that this widest part is along the bottom. Okay, and if I look, it looks like it's a pretty close cut, so I'm not going to have a lot of yardage left over. So I want to get it as close to this edge as possible. We're going to cut the selvage off. Okay, and I need 4 pieces underneath this. So I'm going to slice right along this. Huh?
I switched to the wrong view.
Oh.
So they were watching me sit here.
Oh.
Sorry. I mean, I'm a pretty good producer, but only okay.
So I'm going to, if you guys look, see how I have all of this wrinkle in here? So instead of going to the ironing board, I just take my starch pin. This is an acorn, and I just put a little bit of starch on there, and then it just lays flat for me. So now we're going to take this piece right here, and we're going to lay it on top. So now I have 4 layers of fabric under my layout sheet. And we're just going to cut again. Don't have to worry about it being perfect. And now we're going to grab a whole bunch of our paper clips. And I usually will put a paper clip on each template section. So they're divided by lines that say cut line 1 all the way up to however many cut lines you have.
Sorry, everybody, I had accidentally bumped the camera view, but you're back now.
Let's see, I need a paper clip on this one. A paper clip here, paper clip here, and I have all those. So now we'll move this. Now, if I'm just trying to prepare something, I'll normally not cut this until right before I'm ready to start stacking all my pieces, because it stores a lot better in my bags like this than it does if I cut everything apart. So let's just set this aside right now for a second, and then we're going to go to the next one, and this is my fabric B2. So we're going to cut fabric B2, which I believe is this one. Yep. Okay, and it tells me that I need to, it's 1 7-inch strip, which has already been cut. And it looks like this 7-inch strip, I get half of it goes to the left side and the other half goes to the right side. Nope, that's wrong. So I have to have F1L and F3L on this template, or on this strip. So it tells me basically to cut it in half. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut it in half right here. Then we're going to take this one, we're going to go here, and then this piece goes with one strip, and this one goes with the other strip. So let's put a little bit of repositionable glue on the back of it, each one. And don't get carried away with that glue, because it can get messy on your fabric. So you just want just a little bit, just enough to hold it in position as you have to move it. Now we're going to take, and it tells me here that I have to cut how many of each template? 1, 2, 3, 4. I can read the picture or I can read the text. So I'm going to just slice along here. Then we're going to flip this over, the fabric and the template together. Flip it over again. And flip it over one more time. And so I'm going to put a paper clip on this one, and I have a template here, and we have a template here, and this is for my left side, and then we got to do the same with this one. This is for the left side as well. clips. I like to clip before I cut them into separate pieces because it just keeps everything together better for you. All right, so these are for the left unit, so we're going to use those two. Now we're going to go to the next fabric, and these are for my right unit. So I'm going to just go ahead and put these into the bag with the right unit. Whoops, wrong bag. And there's my bag right there. Yep. So I'm going to put these in here for now. And then we're going to go to the next pieces. And my BF4 fabric, actually, I'm going to look and just make sure I did that right. BF4 is supposed to be my blue. And the left one goes here. Okay. So this piece we're going to put with that, and then this one, actually this is my left and that's my right. So we're going to put this into this bag. In my head I'm thinking that might be wrong, but we'll figure that out in just a minute. I might have labeled something incorrectly there. All right, so we're going to take these pieces and it tells me that I need to cut 1, 2, 3. It says 4 pieces is all I need. So we're going to take this. I keep forgetting that I'm only making 4 instead of 8, you guys. That's why I'm stumbling here for a second. But we're only making a 4 patch here. The other thing that I'm going to mention is always look, check your templates and your instructions, because in your instructions it tells you whether to put it on the right side of the fabric and the wrong side, or the wrong side of the fabric. In general, we put everything on the right side of the fabric, but on occasion we'll have you do it just the opposite. So this one, these do say to put them all on the right side. It also tells you that it's supposed to be on the right side of the fabric on the template. Okay, if you ever find where you're working in a set of instructions and the instructions tell you to put it on the right side of the fabric and the template says the wrong side of the fabric, stop for a little bit and find out, because one of them is probably a mistake. They should both say the same thing, but every once in a while I'll switch and change my mind on how I want to put something, and we might forget to change it in the instructions.
The only time we usually switch it though is when
I want the paper left on the bottom when the sewing process.
Right. Or sometimes we also, like if you use a foundation unit and you don't paper piece it, then the instructions may say, but then you're going to use the unit to do that cutting anyway. So that's probably safe to say that they should match.
So we're working with the BFL fabrics. And this one, so let's lay this out. This is where my brain's saying, well, maybe I have the wrong colors here that I'm working with. That's what I'm looking at.
Oh, okay.
So this one's correct, okay? And then this one here, it says I'm supposed to have blue, which this is correct. So I think I just grabbed these and put them in the wrong bag when I did it. So we're gonna go change this. So this is correct, all right? Because this is where I went in and I looked at my fabric instructions, and then I looked at my picture. And so I can tell that the way Judelle has this set up is she has blue with the red tip and red with the blue tip. Okay, so I need to make sure I'm doing that with my left pieces. I'm supposed to have, this is my BF5 color, which is correct. And then my BF, and then these pieces right here, BF2, and BF4, BF5, BF2 is supposed to be my gold fabric, and this one is BF3, and this one's supposed to be here. But I'm wondering if you have it labeled incorrectly on the, or if I on the label, because this is supposed to be BF3 and BF5. So yep, I did that wrong. It's correct, I did it wrong. So I need to switch these out right here, which means I may have just ruined my fabric there on that one, because this one is, no, this says it's supposed to be the right template. I wonder if the label is, the color is wrong. But we're going to do it this way because I know that this is right. This is BFL. And this is my BFL. And then we look at this. There. Oh, you know what it is, Judelle? I think that Bradley has that picture that quilts about. We'll look at it. I can tell here that this is actually BF3, which is supposed to be this color.
Because we have this published in 5 patterns,
yeah.
So that doesn't make sense.
That's
so I'll check.
It might be the picture. We want 5 and 6 goes with this, which is how I didn't mess anything up. I just picked it up wrong. Okay. So we're going to cut these. So you guys just realize that we all do this. This is just something that happens when we start doing quilting. Is we got to double check and double check and double check. And we still make mistakes. So I just picked up the wrong pieces. And here we go. Because these are my BF1. So we have this piece, and we have this piece, and then we have this piece. And it goes like that. Okay. And then when we flip it over, we'll get this on here.
I will let you guys know if you make a mistake, call us and we can help you get fabric to replace it. We have excess fabric right now anyway of pretty much everything, and I've already helped one person, and I just was able to replace it at the same price that we included the fabric in your kit, so you even get a great deal on the replacement fabric. So if you do happen to make a mistake, let us know. I also had one person who only had one of her 27-inch strips in her kit and not two. So if you're going along and you find something like that, let us know. We think what happened there is sometimes when you stack the pieces for cutting, if there was a layer that didn't have as much fabric in it as the other, we think that, or a bolt that was a little short on fabric, we think what happened in that case was she got the end of the bolt and we missed it. But if it happens, make sure to go double check. We do weigh them all. So they should be pretty close, and it should be pretty unlikely that we're going to miss that happening now. We didn't weigh like the first 5 boxes that went out, and then we started weighing them after to make sure. So hopefully that's going to catch a lot of those little details like that.
Okay, so we're going to cut these up here. And so we're going to find cut line 1 on this. And if there is a mistake on the papers, we're going to figure this out really quick. The only time you would notice this is if where we have the 2 different colors. Cut line 3. And then we have cut line 5. Somewhere I missed cut line 2. Cut line 2 was right here. And this is cut line 6. So these pieces right here, if I'm looking at my paper, this one is BF2L1, so that goes here. And this one is BF2, that one goes here. And this one goes here. So those go together. We'll go ahead and clip those, because that's what I'm actually going to show you your paper piecing on. Okay, and then these pieces, this is BF. This one is BFL1, which this is section 1. And this one goes here. Actually, I'm on the wrong piece here. This one goes here. So this one is mine right here. So this is 1, which that's correct. This is 3. And then this one is 5 and 7. So I'm putting them in order there, the way they're supposed to be. And then this piece is supposed to be section, I have a section 2, a section 4, and a section 6. Okay. So that piece is supposed to go there. And then this piece goes with these over here. All right. So I'm just going to go over the basics to paper piecing right now. And we're going to set this one in with this bag. So in your instructions, we're gonna just work with the smallest group here that we have. You have your stacking, and it tells you the pieces that you're supposed to have for BF 1L, and then the pieces for BF 3L, and then the pieces for BF 2L, and we're going to work with the BF 2L. So this is your checking list for what's in your bag right there, okay? And then we're going to take these pieces here, and that's section 1. This one is section 2, and this one, actually this one should say section 3, which it does, and this one is section 1, and this is my section 2. So notice that I have a sew side, and then your very first piece does not have a sew side, okay? We never put the sew side on the first piece because it's going to get trimmed off either way, and you're not lining it up to anything. You just have to put it underneath the fabric. Everything else always has a sew side, and the reason for the sew side is so you don't have to hold it up to the light to figure it out. You always match the sew side up with the trimmed 1/4-inch seam allowance. So let's clean off all this stuff. I don't like to do paper piecing with a messy table. So we're going to put all of our paper clips away. And we're going to go like this, and then we're going to go like this. So we have our first 3 pieces. So we're just going to take this, and we're going to find section 1. And the very first piece has to be flipped over, okay? And you'll always find the very first piece is normally where all of the excess fabric is in your template layout sheet. And it just kind of lands that way because everything else is lined up to a cut line where the first piece isn't. And so we always slip that very first piece into the excess area. So that's going to fit on there just like that. So I'm just going to take my repositionable glue, and we're going to put just a little bit of repositionable glue on the back side, and we're going to place that piece on there just like that. And then we're going to take some repositionable glue, and just a little bit. You don't want a lot on there. And then we're going to take the next one, and then the next one. So I like to get the first piece on everything. Okay.
So Mom,
yeah,
I opened up the instructions and I found the mistake.
I think it's in
the mistake is in the color layout picture at the bottom.
Yeah.
And so Quiltster's correct, all of the templates are correct, all of that stuff is correct, but you can point to the drawing.
Right here is where the mistake is. Right
so here. That little picture at the bottom, on your guys' pattern, switch 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. So your left fabrics should go with 2 and 4, or your left units should go with BF2 and BF4, and your right unit should go with BF3 and BF5. So I'll issue a correction for that.
Okay, so
but there is a mistake there.
This should be basically you're just going to flip your left and right sides rather than the numbers.
Right. But all of where it says on the main table which templates to put fabric BF2, 3, 4, and 5 with, those are all correct. Actually, let's see.
So since I'm working with the left.
So in the table, it's where it says template BF2R, that should say, so fabric B4, it says template BF2R, that should say BF2L.
So I actually want my blue on this one, don't I? I'm going to know that.
Which one are you piecing your big units with?
The left.
No.
I'm working with the left
That's
papers.
not what I'm asking. Which colors are you doing these with? Red? Which ones did you cut out?
I cut out the blue.
Okay, then you want the red.
No, actually, I think it's going to be the red because these say right on them. Right, and I'm working with the left.
Yeah, you just want your reds and your blues to go together. So
these actually are going to go with this.
Anyway, I'm sorry, guys. We did find a mistake there, so I will look at all the details and I will get a correction out at the end of this video. So
it was my colored label, which if you're doing them all the same color, you would never have that issue. All right, so we're going to just recut these because I know it's got to be out of the blue. Let's see. And we need 4 of those. All right, we got that straightened up.
It's not completely straightened up, but let me get a correction issued for you guys after the video, and I'll post it in the Quiltworks Box Club, but I'll also post it on the website under the Tuscan Sunset pattern. So
okay, so we're going to take this piece. And now we're going to take line 1. We're going to place the full template on line 1. And now we're going to cut all that excess off. Okay. And then we're going to take the next one. We're going to cut all this excess off. And then we're going to take the next one. So what I'm doing here is I'm teaching you guys how to do chain piecing. And we're going to take my blue fabric and I'm going to take this, I'm going to set it on here just like that, and then we're going to take the next one and find the sew side, put it on there like this.
There's a question someone was asking about the fold, if you could tell them more about the fold template and then the yellow ruler.
This one?
Yes.
This is an add a quarter ruler, okay? And this is actually just a piece of template plastic. We cut them out of all kinds of things, and it's one of those things that we just cut it out of template plastic, and then we scribble on it so that we can find it. Sometimes we cut them out of notebook pieces. You can go, there's all kinds of different things you can cut it out of. You can use cardboard, but the template plastic seems to be the best for everybody. This is an add a quarter ruler, and what it has is a 1/4 inch seam allowance, a lip on the back here, so that when you set this down on your paper like this, so once it's folded back, I have my fold template on there. When I fold it back, then I put that on there and I cut. That gives me a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and that seam allowance matches up to what you call your sew sides, okay? So basically this is a 1/4 inch. Every one of these is 1/4 inch. It's a tool that we started using back in the 90s, and it was designed to actually take a template piece and you cut it to the traditional size, and then you lay it around there and you add your seam allowance. It was back when we were doing traditional piecing. We're putting the dog out. And then when we started doing paper piecing, we realized, wow, that is really a cool tool for actually doing paper piecing, and that's why the add a quarter ruler has continued on, and it's the #1 ruler for doing all paper piecing. All right, and so you have to have something to fold your fabric back on, and then you put the ruler on and you trim, okay? And the add a quarter ruler comes in different sizes, different lengths. I use a 6 inch, a 12 inch, and an 18 inch. And mine are 2.5 inches wide. And what I do is I buy the 18 inch and I cut them to the different lengths that I like. You can actually buy them on the shelf in any store, and they're actually 2 inches, but the 18 inch is actually a 2.5 inches, a little bit bigger ruler than the 12 and the 6 inch, okay? The best tool you'll ever use if you get into paper piecing. You'll love it. All right, so let's go back and put our pieces on. So we've got that all stacked up, and let's see, I needed to switch those template pieces, which is fine. So I just want to kind of go through there, and this is my sew side. And so if you look at your template, the fabric, this is supposed to match. So when we cut that template out, it has a sew side, and that's where your trimmed edge always fits up to, is that sew side. And so I like to keep my templates next to me like this, and then all I have to do is lay that down. In all of our instructions, we talk about doing what's called tracing the back side of your paper, because sometimes people, when they're brand new, they have no idea what they're trying to cover. And so you can go to a light table, and what we do is we trace the dash lines. Now I like to just fold on them, but I'm going to show you that if you're working with, if you have a highlighter, you can actually just take and I don't like to put a lot on it, but what I'm doing is I'm marking the dash lines with a black marking pencil. Now when I flip it over, I can actually see the shape. So there's my shape of my diamond. That's a trick that a lot of our CIs use to teach beginners how to find the section that they're trying to add the fabric to underneath. I do it a little bit different, but it's okay. Has their different tricks, and we're good as long as whatever somebody's teaching you works for you. then just do it whatever technique they tell you how to do it. All right, so I have all of these stacked now. What I'm going to do is, because I like to put glue and glue the edges. And the reason I like the glue is because when I'm working with long things, the fabrics have a tendency to move underneath the feed dogs, sometimes make them move. And the other reason I like to glue the pieces together is because a lot of times I have to leave it and come back 3 or 4 days later and finish up the stack. And by gluing, then everything is, it doesn't come apart. So I'm just going to take, before I go to the machine, is what I did is I folded the top piece of fabric back against the paper, put a little bit of glue on there. So would you grab that fabric? That would be my fabric number 1. I fold it back against the paper and put the glue, and we're just gluing right in the seam allowance. It doesn't take much glue, and I use the fabric glue pen, which I believe some of the boxes, did they have these in them, or is that coming in the next box? Okay, and you can buy refills for that glue. And you'll go through it a lot if you start doing paper piecing. All right, so I have those all together. Now we're going to switch over to my machine. Are you at the machine? And I'm just going to quickly test and make sure my machine is running properly before, because I didn't test it. I don't even have it turned on yet. Okay, it's running good. I want to downsize my stitch length. So this machine comes on at 2.5. I'm going to go down to about a 1.8 on this machine, and for my paper piecing. That gives me a smaller stitch. It makes it easier to pull the paper off. But the other reason for the small stitch is when you remove the paper, it loosens the stitch underneath when you're tearing the paper off. And so having a smaller stitch makes your seams, you don't end up where you can actually see the stitches. And it's just something you have to do for paper piecing, is reduce that stitch length a little bit. So I have that reduced down to what I like. And every machine is going to be a little bit different. I have one machine that I actually sew at a 2.5 with my paper piecing, just because it has a pretty tight stitch on it. Your machines are going to vary anywhere from 1.5 to 2.5 in that stitch length, but you want it to be a tighter stitch than what you would be sewing if you were not using, if you were just sewing on 2 fabrics. So now I'm going to take this and I'm going to start sewing, and I want to sew on line 1, and it's the solid line. The dashed line on our foundation papers match up to the trimmed seam allowance, and the solid line is the sew line for everything. These are really small pieces. If I had a machine that had a thread cutter, I would still just keep the pieces locked together by just picking up this and then moving the thread. I don't like to cut the thread in between them unless I'm working with a great big piece, because your thread cutters aren't designed to cut 7,900 times without, you have to clean them to keep those thread cutters functioning properly. So I kind of pick and choose when I want to use my thread cutter. And for small pieces like this, I just basically keep the threads together and we sew. right, so we have all of these. The other nice thing about keeping the pieces together is if every one of these was a different color, it keeps everything in the order in which you're sewing, your sewing order. Now we're just going to cut the fabrics in between here, or the threads between the fabrics, and we're going to go to the ironing board. And we're going to open this up. And in my instructions, it tells you to always open your fabric and press the fabric open. And that's what I mean by that, is we're not keeping it pressed closed. We want to open it and press it to where both pieces are opened up. Are you going to, I don't think we really, oh, you're going to move it over here? Okay. So when I put this on, I want to press into the seam.
Hold on just a second.
She's working on the camera.
Yeah, with the camera view.
Where's my... There we go.
Okay, you're on that.
Okay. Oops, I just lost my cap. All right, so I'm going to use my starch pen, and I'm going to run it right along that seam. And
hold on. Someone asked a question. Do you start and stop outside the paper? We'll
yes.
Go over that. You do. We'll go over that though on the next one. She's showing you that.
Yeah, on the sewing, yes, you always start off the paper and then sew. Okay. And then we're going to set that over here. And then before I open that up, I like to use my starch pen, and I just run it right along the seam line, press that open with my hand, and then press into the seam. Don't press this way with it. You want to always press into the seam so that you don't end up with any little folds in your fabric. So take your starch pen. And this is an acorn starch pen, and we can talk about that a little bit later here too, because I keep forgetting I have a lot of new students out here today. I'm going to take that, put it there. Okay. So we use this product, and it's called an acorn starch, and it has a pen, and you can actually use that pen and you can run it right down your seams. And so now when we press, it's a real flat press seam, and it works really good for accuracy. I lost the lid to it underneath the table, so I'll have to find it after class. Okay. So I have everything pressed. Now I'm going to pick this up, and I'm going to find where it says line 2, and it's the solid line. You're going to take your fold template, put your fold template right on line 2, and this is where that question about sewing on and off the paper. So you always want to sew all the way. So I started off the paper, and then when I came over here, I actually, let's see if I can find something, a pencil. Okay. I sewed past the dashed line, and then I stopped. So I started off the paper here. On this one, I actually stopped before I went off the paper because I only need to sew about 4 stitches past that dashed line. All right, now I'm going to take my fold template and I'm going to place it on the solid line, and I'm going to grab the fabric and the paper, fold it back, and then we're just going to grab this fabric and we tear it. And it's going to tear a hole in your paper, but the fabric has to lay flat in order to use the add-a-quarter. And now I'm going to place the add-a-quarter ruler on there, and we're going to trim. And then I just take my fingernails and crease that paper. Then we take the next one. We're going to place the fold template. We're going to fold back the fabric and the paper, then grab just the fabric and tear it back, and it'll tear a hole in the paper, which is just fine. And then I just crease that and I stack it. Then we're going to take the next piece and we're going to fold this back, take that, tear it, trim, and then we have our last piece here. Tear this back, trim, crease it, and what that does is it also cuts all my threads. So when I did my sewing, I sewed the dashed lines right here. I sewed about 3 stitches past that dashed line, and now I don't have a whole bunch of thread tied to the back of my paper, because it's going to cut the thread when I use the add a quarter roller. Now we're going to take that. We're going to find the sew side on our next template, which is right here. And we're going to remove the paper clip. Set your template up there so that you remember where the sew side is, because when you get to pieces that have all kinds of different strange angles on them, it's hard to tell what the sew side is. And you have to have the sew side so that it always matches and covers the section underneath. So this one's easy to see where I have to cover, because I want to cover the whole paper, so I don't have to have any marks or anything, because this is my last piece. So I'm just going to take my first piece of fabric, we're going to lay it on there like that, and I'm going to show you another way you can use your glue pen. Some people don't like gluing the way I was gluing those seams together, the way I do it, and so what they do is they like to put a little bit of that glue along the fabric before they set this piece on. That works too. Everybody does things just a little bit different. It's really about the approach and the habits that you get into and the way your brain works. So if you guys find something that works for you better, then do it. Another thing about paper piecing in general, the way I paper piece, is I work off of the back side of the fabric, where a lot of people line all their fabrics up off of the front side of the paper. I work off the back side. And because we work off the back side, it allows us to set up all these template pieces so that they fit right underneath the paper when it's folded back. When you work off the front side, it's a lot harder to work with the template pieces, because it throws your sew side in the opposite. You always have to flip everything as a mirror image in order to get it to go underneath it. Where this way, when you work off the back, all you have to do is just pick up the fabric, it's right side up, and you match up the sew sides and add it on. So you're reducing a lot of the steps to paper piecing when you train yourself to work off the back side. Okay, so I have all my pieces there. We can get rid of this template now. And we're going to take these over. I'm going to actually sew this direction through my machine, so I want to move my papers to the easiest way for me to pick them up, which is just like that. I'm going to pick the first piece up, and because I glued it, I don't have to worry about that piece falling off. That's the joy of gluing it. If you're not gluing, then you have to hold those pieces together so that they don't fall or move as you're working, setting them under the machine. So this way I can just pick them up. I don't have to worry about it. I'm going to start about 1/4 of an inch off the edge of the paper, and we're going to sew on line 2. And then we're going to take this one, and I'm just going to lift the pressure foot, slide the thread back, and then start the next one. Then we're going to grab the next piece, pull the thread back, I'm going to stop for a second. When you're doing chain piecing, it's actually better to keep your needle in the up position. And I have mine in, actually it is in the up position. Because when the needle's up, then it's easier to pull your thread back. When the needle's in the down position, the thread doesn't pull as easy. And sometimes you end up breaking your threads in between your chain piecing. All right, we've got our last piece. Another thing I'm going to suggest to you guys, I'm going to change that off because that was actually supposed to be blue. Okay, so I'm going to take these to the iron, and we're going to take our starch pen and we're going to press.
While you're doing that, someone asked what type of iron you're using. You're going to have to quit using that iron because everybody asks about it.
It's an antique iron, and that's all I can tell you. It's not the best. It's a really cool iron. I really like it, but it gets really hot. And I've actually burnt my fabric from it a few times. But it's an older pattern or iron, and one of my employees bought it at an antiques auction for me one day because he thought it was cool. And I agreed with him. And one day it's sat on the shelf for about 5 years, and one day we were looking at changing the shelf we had it on, and I said, I wonder how well that iron actually works. And so we turned it on, and I was like, hey, that works pretty good. But I'm used to irons that you just set them on a hot pad. And so when I was done and I was using it, the first thing I did is I burned a great big hole in my ironing table that he had just rebuilt. And so you have to be a little careful with them. So, but it's not your typical iron, safety iron that you get nowadays. It never shuts off. You have to unplug it. It's got an old cotton cord on it, which those are fire hazards. So it's not a good thing to sell. Okay, so I have everything pressed, and I'm going to take my ruler, and I like my other ruler, and we're going to trim. And we're going to place the ruler right on the outside line, and we're going to trim. These papers have what we call smart corners. So we're going to cut that little corner piece off, and then we're going to trim here. What a smart corner is it's a pre-cut corner that matches up when you start pairing up your pieces when you assemble your quilt. You can assemble without dog ears. Now, some people prefer the dog ears, and some prefer not to use the dog ears. I like the smart corners. I'm showing you how to trim, but it just dawned on me that there's a TRP line on these papers. So I like to sew the TRP lines first, but right here is a TRP line. And what those TRP lines are is there are 2 points between two pieces of paper when you assemble two units together, where you're supposed to pin and match everything. So just if you're working with a long piece and you're trying to do your final assembly, basically if you match the TRP lines and put a pin there, you can run the whole thing through, and 90% of the time everything's just going to lay down perfectly flat for you. And so what they are, we call them registration lines. And the reason it has a T in front of it is that means it's also a transition line as well, because sometimes it's the middle of an area. So it's the middle of a curve, it's the middle of an S curve, or it has to be the point in which you actually sew on a pivot seam halfway and then halfway. So we just call them TRP lines, which means transition and registration mark. Some people, I like to sew them, some people like to mark them. I think it's a waste of my time to mark, because when I'm ready to sit down and sew, I don't want to have to look for those lines. I want to be able to just pick up the fabric, see them right there. With a stitch in there, you can actually see it on the back side and the front side. When you're marking, most people only mark on one side, and so you're always having to look. The other issue I have with marking is when you use chalk, if you press it a lot, by the time you get through to assemble, your marks are gone. So I just really like the TRP lines. I'm going to show you how I do the TRP lines. And this is probably one of the reasons why a lot of people hate doing TRP lines, is they do them right at the end before they get ready to assemble. I like to run them through. It's as soon as I finish the paper piecing, I go back and I run them all through, just as if I'm doing one more seam, and then they're all in place. And I like to sew the TRP lines before I trim, because if I trim first, then I have to go back and cut all my threads. Where if I sew them before I trim, then it's going to cut most of my threads off, so it saves me time. All right, so we have all the TRP lines on. So on this one, we'll have to cut along this edge. And then you can leave a little tail there if you want, or you can take your little curved scissors. It works either way, and you can actually take and just trim those down. So most of our patterns tell you to leave about a 1/2 inch tail, so that when you get all done and you assemble, you just take a pair of tweezers, you grab that tail, and it all comes, and pull them out. Okay. So let's go ahead and cut these threads in between here again, and let's finish trimming. And notice that I'm doing my smart corners. What time is it getting to be?
3:14.
Okay, so I've showed you guys how to trim. I've showed you how to sew and do paper piecing. And we have to move on, because there's another technique of paper piecing involved in here, and I have to show you. So I'm going to show you how to have everything in the bags, but because of the color issue here, I'm just going to set all of this, and we'll catch that when we do one of the other groupings. All right. Sorry I didn't catch that last night when I was going through that. So I'm going to set all of these aside, and I'll come back and we'll put all of the correction and get it all labeled there properly for you. I need the instructions. But normally I'd have all of this all back into the bag. It's just that we have to move on. All right, so you have another technique in this, and it's called strip piecing. And at the beginning of the video, when we showed you that quilt fractured star, and we have lone star. The technique that we're going to show you right here is actually used. Actually, it's not used for fractured star, but we use it for a lot of our lone star quilts, and we have several of those. And we always add this technique into our technique of the month quilts. And it's a strip piecing process, okay? So we're going to turn to page, I believe it's page 4. And you should have got, there was supposed to be 8 different strips for your strip piecing. And they were all numbered fabric 1 through 8. And you want to keep them all in order. So you're going to open your strip up like this, because this one you only have to have 1 cut off of it. Most of our strip piecing patterns require that we have 2 cuts on them, but because we're only doing 4 of these centers, we only need the 1 cut. All right, so we're going to take this, and if you look here, I have S1, S2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So they're all in order, all my colors. And so if we're reading our instruction, I have my fabrics here, S1 through S8, and then it told you to cut all your strips, which you guys were given strips in your instruction, in your kits. And this is a 3-inch strip. It is? I didn't even measure it. Yep. It's a 3-inch strip. Okay.
Someone asked, what do you think of doing TRP lines without thread?
If you're doing them right at the end, when you're getting ready to actually assemble like T templates and things like that, as long as you can see the holes, it works great. But once you hit the iron, all your holes are going to go together. So you can't iron those pieces. You just sew it, and then you remove the paper, and then you assemble.
So for those of you who are new, what she's getting at there is that you would just punch holes in it with the needle. So remove the thread, punch some holes in it, and then rethread your machine. And some people do it that way. We've written some instructions to explain it that way.
Yep. I do a lot of that with when I'm working with T templates, which are the big pieces that are like this. If I have lines, then I'll have 8 of them stacked together, and then I'll sew across there. So it's just another one of those techniques, and it works pretty good. But if you had to do that on every single paper, you might as well just put the thread in it, and then they're there, because you're going to iron it so many times before you get to the end, you would never be able to see those holes, right?
One more question. Someone asked, what size stitch length are you using for the TRPs?
Oh, that's going to vary on the type of fabric. There again, the instructions usually say between 2.5 and 2.0. The type of fabric you're using, like I'm actually using some Tim Holtz here. I tend to go down in almost to my paper piecing size, and it's because it's a real soft cotton fabric. It's a little heavier fabric, but it's soft, and so my threads come out really easy. When I remove the paper, the TRP lines come out, and so I'll use a smaller one. And it's really going to vary between your fabrics. If you're working with batiks, it's a tighter weave, and so you can put a bigger stitch in there. You just have to practice with it, and you get to the point where you know, everybody's going to give you a different view. The best thing you can do is just sew lines and see what comes out the best for you, for the type of fabric you're using, and then make your decision on that. And if somebody says, well, I don't do it that way, then I do it this way. Try it. And if it works for you, then be happy with it. If it doesn't work for you, then go back and do it the way I tell you to do it. So there's more than one way to get to the end of your quilt. It's kind of like driving to town. If I drive, I go one way. If my husband drives, he goes a different way. If he's in the car when I'm driving, he tells me I'm going the wrong way the whole way. So, and we still get there. So, all right, so we're going to cut one piece, one strip, and then we're just going to take this and we're going to put a binder clip on it and save it, because those are nice chunks of fabric. We don't need to throw them away. Everything I have here is stacked in order, so I know fabric number 1 is on the top. I want to show you what I did with my papers. So I don't want to change the way that's set up. So we're going to jump to the bottom of page 5. And my pattern is missing part of a template, which means that probably something in InDesign flipped the page. Sometimes you can move a letter over here and it'll totally throw the next page off. So we need to figure that out. What we'll do is, you guys might run into some of that and some of you may not run into that. So what we'll do is we'll take this page and we'll reprint it out on our correction sheet, so that if you run into it and you're missing a couple of those template pieces down there in that graphic, then you can reprint that on your computer and just add it to your page. All right, so what that is telling you is, let's go up to the place before here, and we're going to have to jump back here, but these are my foundation papers, and I also put little swatches on my fabric layout here to make sure that the colors were the way I wanted them to be. And then I also take these, and before I start doing the strip piecing, I cut fabric swatches, and that's what preparing your foundation papers is about. It's telling you to add these fabric swatches to your paper. So this one is my fabric 1, and this is fabric S5. And so we've added fabric swatches to everything. And you might think, well, we're only doing 2, I can keep track of that. Well, that's probably true. But when you get doing this technique, and sometimes we'll do 42 pages at the same time, and we like to have these fabric swatches, and then we just double check to make sure everything's going the way we have planned for it to go. Okay, so I have, the other thing your papers tell you is it tells you what fabric number goes under there. So on each one of these it says S1 fabric, S1 fabric, S1 fabric, S1. And this is my section 1 row. So there's 4 diamonds in a row. Okay, this one tells me fabric S5, 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 S5. So if you have it set up over here, you can actually just look at that swatch there and cut a swatch off of there. If you're worried that you might not have enough fabric to cut, just look at your pictures, and if there's excess fabric left over from your strips, you know you're going to have plenty of fabric there. The other place you can get it is right off the corners of it. When you go to cut with your template, you're always going to have some little pieces left over from the triangles, and we use those a lot as well for this. Okay, so I have all my fabric swatches. All of my papers have an actual number on it. It says foundation sheet 1, foundation sheet 2, foundation sheet 3, and 4. And on this one, I only have 1 sheet of each one. But if I had 4 of these, then we would want to number the papers, and we would number each one of the papers, and they would, like if I had 12 or 20 of these, I would number, the first one would be paper number 1, paper number 2, number 3, number 4, all the way up to the number of papers that you have set there. Okay, so those are just a few tips for as you move on to other designs. that if you're reading instructions and it's telling you to number it, the reason why is so that you can keep track and keep those numbers paired up with the way that your fabric is stacked. All right. So let's go back. We cut our strips. That was at the bottom of page 4. And then we're going to be up to here at the top, and it shows all of your strips in order. Fabric 1 should be on the top, and fabric 8 should be on the bottom, which is the way we had our fabric stacked. So that means I don't have to restack anything. But it tells me to divide these into 2 rounds, and the round is like the way we sew it up. So we put all the pieces on for round 1, and then we come back and we put all the pieces for round 2. And so what it's telling me is fabrics S1, S2, S3, and S4 are my round 1. Okay, and this just helps you when you're doing like 48 fabric strips. If you mark these rounds, then you're going to know if you pick something up and you get to you're short, you're going to know, well, maybe I sewed 2 strips onto one of those papers. So it helps you go back to make sure you're not putting things in the wrong place. So I'm going to go around fabric 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then I put a paper clip on it. And then the last 4, we're going to put a paper clip, and it just separates my rounds. And when I'm done, you'll understand what a round is, okay? So then we just stack the rounds. So if you had, I only have 2 rounds here, round 1 and round 2, and 2's on the bottom. If I had 6 or 7 rounds, then they would all be stacked in order as well. Now we're going to go to, we prepared our foundation papers. They're all cut out. You only want about 1/8 of an inch outside each one of these, and you really don't even have to have that 1/8 inch. You can cut them right on the line as well when you're doing your strip piecing. So we're going to take round 1, we're going to lift these up. We don't want to flip the whole stack over. We're only going to take one piece off at a time. And I'm going to take my foundation paper and I'm going to put glue on underneath section 1, and section 1 goes this way. So we're going to take our repositionable glue, and I'm going to run, and I'm going to do 2 swatches of it. And then we're going to take our first piece of fabric and we're going to lay it on that, right over that area. Once I get the first piece on, then I start working with everything else right side up, okay? I want to make sure that where I put that strip, if I put my fold template along that dashed line, I need to have fabric underneath there, okay? So if you don't have that strip positioned so past this dashed line there, then you need to reposition it, okay? So we're going to take the second piece of fabric and we're going to lay it on top of this one in the same spot. And then I'm going to take my foundation sheet and I'm going to put my glue on the back of section 1. And I'm going to put my fingers right there where that dashed line is. And I'm going to make sure that my fabric strip covers that whole row. And then we're going to take the next piece, put it on here. And when you're flipping these over, make sure you don't put the glue on the wrong side. Always make sure that it's on fabric, the section that you need to be on. And this is my section 1, so I put my finger here, and then when I put the glue on there, I know that I'm putting it in the right place. Okay, and then we're going to take the next one.
I did some of these units recently, and one thing I found is that sometimes the repositionable glue didn't hold very well, so I used my Yoo-Hoo glue stick on some of them, so I got a better hold. But you can try either and see what you think.
Yeah.
The biggest thing on the Yoo-Hoo is once you iron it, if you forget to pull the glue, if you forget to separate the paper and the fabric with the Yoo-hoo glue stick, then it irons little chunks of the papers onto it. So just something to be aware of. So.
All right, for this we're going to use our 18-inch add a quarter ruler, and we want a longer fold template. So we're just going to set these two off to the side. And I'm going to take these and put them over here like that. And we're going to pick one piece up at a time. And we're going to place the fold template on line 1 the whole length. And you're going to fold the foundation paper back. And I have fabric or paper number 4 is on the top right now. And I'm going to trim a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And then I'm going to set that aside. So that's number 4 paper. This is my number 3 paper. So whenever we're doing a strip piecing process, we use our big add a quarter ruler, the 18-inch, so that we don't have to keep sliding the ruler from end to end. And if you guys can't find an 18-inch add a quarter ruler in your local stores, we sell them all the time. If you go out to any of our certified shops that we have listed online, I can guarantee you they all sell them. This one is that was number 2, and this is foundation sheet number 1. Okay, so now this puts number 1, foundation sheet number 1, back on the top. And this is also the end of my round 1. Okay, so now we're going to start with round 2. And we're going to pull the paper clip off. And I'm going to pick the first piece up, and it stays right side up. And the very first sheet goes with this, because this is fabric number 5. And it goes underneath. And just to make sure, because like sometimes we get things messed up, or we pick up 2 fabrics at the end instead of 1. If I open this up, that color that I pasted on here matches my fabric that I just put on. Okay, so I'm actually going to just take the next piece of fabric, and I'm going to lay it on top like that. And then we're going to take the next paper and set it underneath there. So what we're doing here is we organized everything in the cutting instructions so all of our papers and fabrics would be picked up in the sewing order. And there we go. So now this was number 4, and now we're done. So I'm going to take my glue pin here, and I'm going to glue my edges. So I'm going to just pick up that seam, that fabric along the seam allowance, and then push that together. And then we're on the last one here. Our dog today, he can't decide whether he wants in or out. It must be spring. He wants both. Okay, now I'm ready to sew, but I want to show you a couple more tricks. So this technique, sometimes we have a hard time getting this underneath the machine because you have to be back quite a ways. And some people just, the fabric, if they didn't do a good job gluing, the fabric's gonna move. And so I use flower pins when I'm teaching people, and I just have them come in here and slip a flower pin because they lay flat, and just pin them together, and that's going to help support that glue that you put on there. So if you feel like you can't get that to stay together, then just take a couple of flower pins, but you have to open the paper up and pin it on the inside. You can't pin through the folded paper. You have to open it up and do it that way. Does that make sense? I'm going to pin all three of them just because I'm standing up, and it's hard to do the strip piecing standing. So this will help me keep everything together. This is one of my favorite techniques that I teach. It's actually one of my favorite processes as far as different things that we teach. And like on a queen size quilt, I can actually get all of the sewing for basically a queen size quilt done in about 3.5 hours with the strip piecing process. So it works really, really good. So we're going to take the very first piece, and I'm going to set my stitch length a little bit higher when I'm working with long papers. So I'm going to move it to a 2 on this one, because the tighter stitch on your paper has a tendency to shrink the paper as you sew long strips together. So I'm just going to up my stitch length a little bit. And we're going to sew on line 1. And it looks like I'm going to end up with a knot, so I'm going to fix it before I go any further. There we go. And it's the solid line. And the reason we put the line there is for you guys to sew on it. So don't sway back and forth like a drunk driver. You want to stay right on the line when you're sewing. The closer you are to that line, the easier it is to match your diamonds when we come back to sew them together. Then we're going to take the next one. And then I'm going to take the next one. You know, while I'm sewing this last piece, show them Star Baby. Go out and find a picture of Star Baby and tell them, show them that quilt that uses this same technique. The Goodnight Star? Yeah, the Goodnight Star.
I gotta turn on my mic, and then I gotta switch screens here. Okay. So we have another video series for a pattern called the Goodnight Star. And then this is the pattern. It uses the same piecing technique. And we also have this in a tiny quilt called, let's see, called Star Baby. Hold on. So Star Baby is just a tiny one. So if you want to practice that technique, this would be a great one for you to look up and do it some more, because it's actually the same technique that's used in Prismatic Star, and pretty much all of our Lone Star quilts use this same Lone Star technique. It's just simpler in the video that you're watching right now, because you can see, because she's only sewing 2 pieces.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. All right. So I'm only going to do trim unit 1 and unit 2, because this is a different color star. It's the second one, and we don't need to do both of them. So basically I'm going to take these 2 into the iron, and we're going to actually put our starch pin, and we're going to run it right along that line, that sew line, and I'm going to press, and I'm going to do a finger press with it first, because I want to make sure I don't get any creases or folds in that line. Your pressing is really important when you're doing this technique, not to press any folds in there. And believe me, it's easy to do, because you just get, it's such an easy technique, and then you get talking and not paying attention, or things come up. Next thing you know, you're pressing little folds in there because you're not doing a good job pressing. So I'm going to take both of these, and we're going to press them. And then we're going to take the next one, and we're going to press that one. And remember, you're pressing into the second piece, so you're pressing the way the seam is actually folded, or facing the seam allowance. All right, so there's my 2 pieces. This one is unit S1. So let's go back to this ruler here. And as we're doing this box thing, I need to go out there and join that group there, the box group. And if you guys have questions, just put those questions out there, and Judelle and I will get back to you to answer them. If you have a problem, you do something wrong, keep us posted, and we'll try to stay up with everybody and take care of your questions. That's a different page than our support network. On the support network, the certified instructors take care of that, and you get a lot of support from other students as well. And sometimes that support from other students is really nice, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes they don't quite understand the process, and so they tell you things that are not true. So kind of be careful with that when you're asking questions. But on this box club thing, Judelle and I will take care of all of those. I do want to bring your attention, this one actually has 4 TRP lines. I don't think this one, yeah, this one has 4 TRP lines. So before we go any further, let's go ahead and sew those TRP lines. It's a lot easier to chain those rather than do one paper at a time. Okay, so get that. But notice how I'm cutting the threads off at the back, and then I'm just going to come in here and cut between threads on the top. Okay, so we're going to trim now. So I'm going to start with my S1 piece. I trimmed 3 sides. Now I'm going to trim the side with the TRP lines on it. All right, so I'm going to get rid of my swatches now because I don't need those. And if I leave them on, I'm going to end up sewing them into the seam allowances, and that is something I don't like doing. So I pull those off. And we're going, it says cut line 1 part 2, cut line 2 part 2, and cut line 3 part 2. So we're actually going to place this. And there's actually 3 solid lines there, and you want to be on the middle one. And it's really easy to cut those lines and place it on the wrong one. So pay attention. And if you make that mistake, please let me know, and we'll help you fix that. I'll either walk you through how to fix it, or we'll send you something that you can fix it with. So pay close attention to that. So I'm on my middle line, and then I'm going to take it here, and I'm going to put it on the middle line. And I am also going to show you a trick that if you have a highlight pencil, people that have a hard time seeing, a lot of times they'll come in here and they'll mark the middle line with that highlight pencil. And that way when they put their ruler down, they can see that they're on the right line, because your ruler is always going to hide one of the lines for you. Okay, now I'm going to take these and I'm going to cut my little smart corners, and some of them are double smart corners and some of them are only 1 slash. Okay, so there's our first piece that's cut. I'm going to trim that thread off there. Okay. And then you're going to take all of these pieces and make sure that they're all in the same order. So you can tell by the way that the print is on there that it's all right side up. But look for section. So this is section 1, this is section 1, section 1, and section 1, because you can flip them over like this and still sew them together. Now just put section 2 and made your pieces upside down. So when you get through cutting, make sure that you're stacking them with all your section numbers, and then I just put a paper clip on those. Okay, and then we're going to take and we're going to do this again. So we're going to trim along the outside edges first. You're trimming right along the edge of the fabric, that solid line. And sometimes you have to tweak your fabric just a little bit to get that to line up under your ruler. And that's just because in the sewing process you might have twisted it a little bit. So if you have to tweak it, just tweak it and make sure it lines up with your ruler. So like here, if you had to move this and pull it a little bit, that's okay. Just make sure that it all lines up with your ruler before you cut. Okay, now we're going to cut this end. Get those smart corners cut. And then I'm going to come over here, remove my fabric pieces. We're going to put it on cut line 1. And so just so you guys can see what I'm doing, I'm going to highlight it. So there's my cut line 1, cut line 2, and cut line 3. So Now when I put it on, I can see that I'm on that right line. I don't have to double check it. Okay, so we're going to finish cutting our smart corners. And that's my section 1, so I'm going to turn it that way. This is section 1 here. This one is section 1. Okay, so we have section 1.
It's, just so you know, it's 3:50. So
Okay.
if we try and end these each time at 4. So if we might go over a little bit on this one because we covered Quiltster and stuff at the beginning, and then we had a color issue. But if we go over and you guys need to tune out, remember it's saved on our YouTube channel and you can come back to it later. So if we do, it'll just be a few minutes. So
Yeah. We'll finish no matter what.
Yeah.
All right. So, but we're getting close. All right. So we're going to actually assemble these 2 stars, and then I'll go over the assembly instructions. So, if I come in here, all of my paper piecing instructions we went through on those. So we're going to skip by here. I went through how you do the trimming here, and it shows all of the different pieces that we just trimmed, except that we didn't do the last 2 pages. So I have unit S1 and S2 actually are sewn together. So we're looking at the front side of the fabric. Remember, this is the back side. So we want to set this up according to that picture. And so I'm going to flip this over, and I want section 1, and so it goes like this. But I want to make sure that I have these in the right place. So this one is my fabric S1, and so let's look where fabric S1 is. So this is fabric S1 right here. Right? So if I look at this picture, I can line it up S1, and then it turned like this, so this is the way that's set up. Okay? And then this one, fabric S2, is fabric S2 is right here. So that's there. That one is fabric S6, which that's correct. And when I look, that's going to go like this. Okay? Because my lighter color is right here. We need to add the labels of which piece is which. So now I have that set up the way my picture is. Okay? And we're going to take our first piece. And we're going to put this one, and then this one goes on top. And I'm going to do all 4 of them because I don't want to forget which way it goes. And I'm going to put a paper clip on that. And then this one is going to go on top of this one. And this one's going to go on top of this one. Okay. All right. So I am going to show you the way the instructions are set up. So I believe that it tells you to remove the foundation paper from under the diamond section on unit S1 without disturbing the pin. So that's after. So this is actually having you do this with the paper on it. Okay, so we're going to take these two, and we have to match at this intersection right here. So that's an X, and you have to match right in the middle of the X intersection on the sew line, not the dash line, the sew line. And then you're going to match it up with this one. Okay, and we still have the paper on these, right? And once we get that matched, then we're going to take the pin and we're going to lay that pin down basically like this. Okay. And I know that I have a match there. Then I don't have it quite matched up at the end yet, but now what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the paper under the bottom piece. And I leave the pin there too, because that tells me which side I'm actually sewing as well. Okay, now that I have the paper removed, I'm going to grab my glue pen and I'm going to put some glue right at that smart tip, that corner there, and we're going to match that end right there. Okay, and I'm going to pull the pin back just a little bit. And we're going to do the same thing here. All right. So now I have both ends are glued to match, and that's the important part. And then I'm going to leave the pin in there where I have those two holes there. Leave the paper on because the paper gives me where my 1/4 inch line is. So this is the way I teach all my beginners how to do this, is I have them remove the paper off the bottom, because when you put two pieces of fabric that have bias on them between two pieces of paper, they're going to crawl in between the paper. So you want to remove the paper off the bottom before you sew. You can keep it on the top so that you have your line there, but remove it off the bottom. Most of my students, after they get to where they understand how to do this, they remove the paper off of both pieces. All right. So we're going to set that up. We have the ink glued together. And we're going to start to about 1.8 again. And we're going to start sewing, and we're going to sew on the line. After I do 2 or 3 stitches, I'm going to take my pin and I'm going to kind of roll the pin around. So I'm just going to pivot the pin around until the edges all line up, because they weren't lined up before I started sewing. You can't
see that because of the way the camera's angled, so you might show them on one of the other pieces or something.
I will.
But, okay.
I'm going to sew it, and then I can show you at a closer view on that camera. Actually, let's just start over there, and I'll actually do this like that. So what I did is can you see me?
Yeah, there you can see it.
So what I did is, after I started sewing, this normally, when you put the pin in, it takes that
Come
piece,
down a little bit. There you go.
It takes that piece underneath and kind of pushes it. So I just take the pin, since it's still in there, and I kind of roll it like that. And what it does is it pulls the fabric underneath out and lines it up with the stuff on the top. And so I do that right at the machine. Okay. And now I'm going to sew right on that line there. Okay. So I already started sewing, so let's go ahead and re-sew that. And now I'm going to take that pin and pivot it so that I have that straight edge. And when I cross over those, I want to be on the seam allowance side of that line. I want to be touching the line, but I want to be just to the inside of that line, and that gives me the room for my seam, my fabrics to fold open. And you'll have a little ridge there. And you're going to pull the pin out before you sew over it. So I'm not sure if you can see, but my stitch line is just, would actually be on the right side of that dark line, but it is touching the line, but it's just to the inside between the line and the seam allowance. Okay, so now when I press, it gives me room to open it up, and I have a perfect match there. All right, so let's go press it. And that's the end of the piecing, and I'm going to do the same thing with those, but I have my piece done. I'm going to leave that paper on there because it's going to tell me which unit is which when I get ready to assemble, okay? Because it tells me what I'm supposed to have and where my fabrics are supposed to be. And so this is my, so this is actually a section 1 piece. This one is my S6 color, right? So it's going to tell me that that piece is put with this section right here. After you get all the paper piecing done, lay all your pieces down on your table, and it gives you the instructions there on how to assemble. I'm going to leave one of these blocks unassembled, and I'll go over the assembly in the next time we meet, just in case there are people that want to see how that's done. But you guys should be able to read those instructions and just follow what it tells you. All right, and I think that's going to be the end of our demos. I just want to reassure you guys that with those colors, we will get that fixed tonight, and so that when you lay this out, you know that you have those paired up. And put little swatches on your papers, lay the papers out, and make sure that your colors are where you want them to be, okay? And because your colors might be a little bit different than mine, but if you put little swatches on your newsprint and then lay that newsprint down, you're going to know whether or not you have it in the right place. All right.
I'm also going to note on the correction, the reason we've never found it before is because none of the quilts that we've published with this block had different colors on either of the feathers and the points.
This is actually done from the mixer unit.
Right, well. But I look back at all the patterns, they're all the same. So here's the deal. There's a correction that has to happen in the Quiltster layout and then a correction in the pattern because we got them mixed up in both places. If you are doing the Traditions colorway or the Hydrangea colorway, you're going to want to pay attention. If you're doing one of the others, all of your feathers and your points are the same fabric. So it doesn't matter. You might have to move something from one bag to the other to make them all sew together correctly, but that's why no one's ever noticed before.
Yeah.
And the other reason you noticed is because you're not using batiks. And so if someone else was using batiks, they also probably never noticed.
Because they just
picked it up and flipped it over and put it the other way. So anyway, I will make the correction. It definitely has a mistake, but because we did the colorway this way, we just happened to finally find it after all this time.
Yeah, well, the other thing I'm going to explain to you guys is we do whenever we put out a new series of mixers, we actually build a booklet that's just for that block. And so where these were probably made the very first time and they were all the same color, it didn't show up that color layout was wrong because you would have never figured it out because it's the same. So by switching out the colors, that's when I was like, well, the papers aren't matching up the way they're supposed to with the right colors. And these, when we publish a pattern, we actually go back and we bring this information from all of the booklets, all of the instructions for the individual sections. We bring all of that back, and then we have people put the instructions together, and they have to base all those instructions off of the way the fabric in that particular cover sheet is set up. And so they'll go in there and realign all of the colors to make sure it's going to match what's on the cover sheet. And so where we put out the boxes, we didn't look at those because we haven't.
Yeah,
this is the first time we ever worked with it off of the booklet.
But also all of the patterns, we've carried this mistake through everything, so I have to go back and correct 4 patterns now too. But it's because, and we've never noticed it before because we never did them.
We never
switched them.
Yeah.
So anyway,
so
that was
we'll
cool.
Get that posted, and you guys will be able to realize that if you sewed it up before, basically what's going to happen is you're going to have a blue star and you're going to have an orange star is the way that's going to come out for you. So, and your block's still going to look really nice. So, and if you sewed it up already and you need a correction, let us know, and we'll get you the pieces that you need to make that correction. Okay, on that little piece. All right?
All right.
Okay, so, but we're here, and we'll help you guys through all of this. Just post your questions, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can, all right, with the answers.
Okay, I think
and thank you guys for watching and understanding that we make mistakes too. Everybody that does quilting, it's just like every time you pick up a new project, you're having to go back through it to figure out exactly where everything's at. And we really appreciate your business, and I hope we saw a lot of new students today. So,
all right,
we're gonna go.
I think we're done. All right, bye everybody.